We all need more grounding at this time. It's May 20th, 2026, and it's Adina Churchill Wellness Astrologer, wellnessastrologer.com. And this video was inspired by my friend Susan, so thank you, Susan, for suggesting that I do this. I'll talk about some of the astrological phenomena that are happening right now, how it might apply to you and to humanity and to kind of our global service. So we're grounding because we're in a time where information and ideas are going to be moving very quickly. And I'll explain this as we go. But the Tibetan bowls are a great way to ground. Sound, 7D matter, actually manifests and changes, the 7D sound, changes and manifests our 3D matter. So that sound can help reorganize, different when I'm holding it this way. Sound can help reorganize water, molecules, processes in your body. The simplest way to ground, of course, is just going outside and sitting on the ground. Sherman Resonance, 7.3 hertz. But also when you're outside, you are able to partake in the essential oils of the plants. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go on in the homeostatic intelligence of nature. You are breathing in fresh air in some places, increasing your oxygen. You're underneath the sun, and the sun not only provides vitamin D, but as Jack Kruse talks about, the sun and light is actually affecting intracellular ATP production, or the mitochondria in our cells. So you know what happens to a plant when it doesn't have sun. You know, our bodies do the same thing. And here in Nova Scotia, we've just had like 5 days of sun, and you know, you can feel how it energizes your body and things are healthier. Jack also talks about, Dr. Jack, how the sun, because it enriches and enhances the energy in your body, helps protect you against harmful radiations like the cellular technology, the Wi-Fi, that sort of thing. So being outside, being in nature is just a very simple suggestion that costs no money. It just means you have to turn off your phone and because the blue screens affect negatively your body, but also the radiation from the cell phones, and be outside. So that's kind of a simple message on the heels of a Taurus new moon to talk about grounding yourself in nature. But in the sky right now, we have a conjunction of the sun, which is our identity, it's our vitality, it's our consciousness. The Uranus, which is the planet of sudden breakthroughs, of intuition, of shakeups. And it's also conjunct in a stellium with Mercury. And Mercury, the planet Mercury, represents our mind, our thinking, our communication, our speech. So to have these 3 planets together in the sky means that truth can emerge suddenly. You know, it may be that you're unable to tolerate stagnation, and these unexpected conversations, let's say, will stimulate new ideas. Intuition arrives kind of like in a lightning bolt fashion when you have Uranus involved. Communication can accelerate rapidly, and that can open you up to new breakthroughs, but it can also overwhelm your nervous system. So if you scroll down my page, I have a few different posts about chiropractic, and I'm not a chiropractor. I'm not holding myself out as a chiropractor, but I was a chiropractor for 23 years, and I love it. And it's one of the ways that you can balance your nervous system, because if you have a vertebrae, a misalignment irritating the nervous system, you can go sit in nature and do all the potions and herbs and spice, but again, it may be a physical manifestation that you would need adjusted chiropractically to help calm your nervous system. So that's one other solution. But this energy, when you have Uranus and the Sun and Mercury together, can also make you really anxious, right? You can be having rapid thoughts or insomnia, sudden changes, new ideas, even anxiety. So truth bombs, although they liberate you from your outdated conditioning, they can also be somewhat stressful. So know that. Put the action steps in place to help ground and calm your system, and realize that this is part of our evolution, right? Not just you, but it's our evolution of our species. In this time, it will also help you communicate more authentically with who you are, with your vitality and your conscious mind. So you can use that to post about something that inspires you, or write about something that inspires you, or have those conversations, those authentic conversations from a soulful level of your conscious identity. So it's a time of mental expansion, multi-dimensional thinking. So thinking outside the box, which is often where the solutions happen, right? It was what Einstein said, you can't solve a problem within the paradigm that created it. You have to jump outside. So this is a time when we can jump outside that box in our thinking. And you can see that perhaps the whole pandemic, the plan of kind of enslaving the population may have backfired. Maybe it's actually woken up the population. You look at both sides, jump outside the box. Instead of seeing that just gas prices are tearing us down, maybe these elevating gas prices are actually the thing that will stimulate, a new water hydrogen engine, free electricity or free energy. So it's a time when you can use this astrological energy to open your mind and to benefit. It accelerates timelines. Again, Uranus speeds everything up, so does Mercury. But innovation and information. But you have to be discerning with the information that you're taking in. I find myself often, scrolling down through all the doomsday stories, and that can pull your energy down. It can also capture your mind and your energy into things that you don't want. And I'm going to give you examples this week of what happened to me personally, and how I almost got kind of pulled down and trapped right into those lower, denser energies. So how to work with these energies. Oh, the other thing that's happening too right now astrologically is Jupiter, planet of expansion and luck and abundance, greater vision, is conjuncting it's close to the moon. And the moon represents our unconscious desires, our mother, our home, our hearth, our psychological roots. So having these two planets together has a similar effect, not just in our conscious vitality, but also in our unconscious. So it's expanding our emotions, opening our heart to greater intuition and healing. So this is, there was a quote, I should have wrote that down, I can't remember who said that, but it was like, you have to create space in order to receive. I guess many people say it in different ways, right? You have to close one door before another door opens, but you have to carve out the space for what you want to receive and bring into your life. And what you ultimately think about and act upon is what you bring about. So if you're focused on all the problems in the world, that's what surrounds your reality. So again, I'll talk a little bit about that. But how you can work with these energies, both the stellium of the sun, Uranus and Mercury, and also the conjunction of Jupiter and the moon, is write down your breakthroughs, your genius ideas, and act upon them. So whether it's a post, it's an idea, it's calling the cell company and complaining about the 5G technology, I don't know, whatever, just calling the airlines and complaining about the pesticide spray that they use to sterilize, let's say, the cabins in the plane. I mean, whatever the thing is that is aggravating you right now, you can sit in that aggravation and torment yourself, running the same story over and over again, the same record. Or you can say, this is where my pain is. How can I put it into purposeful action? And that not only liberates you from that anxiety that you can slip into at this time, but it opens you up for a loving service that actually changes our humanity, right? Putting your loving service into purposeful action. So writing them down, journaling about them, posting about them, writing in a book, acting on them in some way, doing a video, I don't know, staying grounded. So again, I mentioned about, discerning the information that you bring in and avoid, the excessive doomsday articles, let's say, and ideas, because ultimately what you think about, you bring about. And then number 3, allow space, like I said, for that spontaneous inspiration and contemplation. So if you're constantly having your mind engaged in someone else's ideas, you have no space to receive your own. And you are brilliant. You are really brilliant. You're truly brilliant. And the ideas and the suggestions that will come to you it doesn't even have to be a deep meditation, but just contemplation, being outside, walking in nature. Some of the most inspiring ideas have came to me, as I'm walking through the woods. It's like, you're giving the monkeys in your mind a forest to play in. And, ideas can come to you, right, in those times. So allow space for the spontaneous inspiration. Believe, ask, believe, and receive. So astrologers look at these particular aspects and patterns in the sky as kind of an electrical opening in our Uranus, the Gemini-Uranus era that's happening for the next 7 years. So Uranus, again, like I said, the planet of unexpected shakeups and intuition and brilliance is in Gemini. So some solutions maybe are going to be coming through communication. So this week, 2 weeks ago, I got bitten by a tick. So you'll see a lot of tick posts and ways to protect yourself with essential oils, for example. Good repellent. The ticks may land on you, but the essential oils make them so sleepy and stunned that they at least don't bite you. But I start researching and got into some great books that I should mention to you. Let's see. So this one I'd read a while ago. It's called Bitten, and it's by Chris Newby. And then another one, Healing Lyme. Homeopathic prescribing. So I haven't had the blood test yet, but I'm pretty sure that I've warded off any bacteria, spirochete bacteria that causes Lyme from ticks. But what I've been researching and what's most brilliant is that nature is so wise, and that solutions often come together in the problems. So last week I posted a picture of my garden, and I had a picture of a stinging nettle, and right next to the stinging nettle plant is peppermint. And peppermint is kind of the antidote. When I had these welts show up on my arm, the peppermint just kind of took it away. And the same thing, the bacteria that was injected into ticks in Lyme, Connecticut, it began as a biowarfare experiment. Also had different bacteria injected into them from different parts of the world. So the solution to the sickness from this bacteria often comes from plants and herbs in different parts of the world. Japanese knotweed, for example, or another plant that I found, and a mushroom in Africa. So nature has the answers and has the solutions. Medicine, I mentioned this too in another video, in another post this week, but in 1911, according to the Flexner Report, pharmaceutical companies took over our medical system, right? They went in and they populated the medical boards with pharmaceutical representatives. They changed the curriculum. They threw out things like osteopathy and nutrition and homeopathic medicine in favor of drugs. And what's happened now in our medicine is that these drugs now contain nanotechnology. So I have some friends say, oh, I didn't take the shot, but I take my ivermectin every day. Ivermectin has nanotechnology in it, you see? So the pharmaceutical companies, they use plants oftentimes, right, to make their medicines, but then they change the structure so much and twist it that it has many side effects, and of course they add their own special recipe. So, but nature is so wonderful because in a homeopathic medicine, in a herb, or in an essential oil, it has what we call homeostatic intelligence. That means if you give cinnamon, for example, it can increase your blood sugar or it can decrease your blood sugar depending on what your body needs. It's not like an antibiotic, against biotic life, that wipes out all your natural flora. It can be specific. It kind of works in synergy with your body. Plants, essential oils, and of course herbs, right? The dried plants or tinctures. So it behooves you, if you're having any sort of medical condition, let's rephrase that. If you're having sort of any health challenges, that you seek natural medicine as a more complete form of healing with less side effects. And then last night I did a podcast with Alan Mader of Alan Mader Designs. And we reviewed some technologies that he's developing to help ground you in the frequencies that are around, right? 5G at 30 to 300 gigahertz. And even though you can't block these frequencies, you can reduce the frequency that you're exposed to by returning to core technologies, right? Avoiding using your cell phone. I turn on the cell phone for these videos and I check my messages in the morning and the evening, but at other times I have it off. Don't register for apps like the Nova Scotia Health app that's going to have you on that, for your health. Because 5G, 25 to 30 gigahertz, was developed as a military weapon. The old technology, 4 gigahertz, was actually fourth generation technology was only 2.4 gigahertz. So it's a big jump. So again, part of the solution, like I said, is looking for natural alternatives. And the simple solution is just turning off your phone. Wiring up like it used to be, cord technology in your home so you don't have the Wi-Fi, and then you can seek supports. Alan Mader Designs has a pocket ground that I've been using for years, and he were just telling me last night about some new products that they have. So that would be something else, a new and innovative idea, thinking outside the box in how you can create solutions for yourself. And then last night on the video, I think it was Alan, someone asked me about politics. It was a kind of international representation, so I was the only Canadian, and I think I was the only Canadian, and so someone asked me what I thought about Mark Carney. And I made a joke that I'd heard a friend tell years ago, politics, poly means many, and ticks, of course, I'm well familiar with ticks, being an insect parasite that sucks your blood. That kind of frames kind of how I feel about the whole thing. No, but really, Mark Carney, Justin Trudeau, whoever the next bad guy is really just a symptom of a greater problem. And that greater problem is really a disempowered people. Because ultimately you are brilliant and you have the authority of your own life. Sometimes you're tricked into surrendering that authority to a consciousness that has a power less than your own. And some of that trick is actually just getting you to engage, right, in their wrestling matches. But I'm reading another book right now, actually a series, but I was reminded about this book in the series called The Book of Kin. And this is Ringing in the Cedars. This is a whole series of books. Anastasia, written by a Russian author, but it's really a world bestseller. And it's just beautiful because it describes our human connection to the land and to plants and that intimate bond that we've forgotten. And ultimately, this is where our healing comes from, right? From nature. Our learning and understanding how to move out of these problems that we find ourselves in, again, is looking to nature. How does nature handle that problem? So I highly recommend this book. But in the book, they talk about the solution really being giving everybody a plot of land. In Russia, they've actually done this, and allow them to have a homestead where they grow their own food. You know, they're protected. They're not centralized into an apartment building that looks like a rat cage. They're decentralized, and they're given the opportunity to be responsible for their own health and their healing and livelihood of their families. And the Book of Kin is actually writing a book or writing something. It doesn't have to be a book, but writing right now in how you want to envision the future for your children and your grandchildren. And Indigenous people have done this, right? This is the foundation of Indigenous teachings, is if you're thinking really about the children and the health of our next generation, you know what to do, right? And if you physically write it down, now is a good time to do that, or start that process in writing down how you want the world, how you would love the world, how you envision, and how you're going to co-create the world for your children and your grandchildren. So the Book of Kin is doing that, you know, looking after ourselves. And that's something that the government is not really going to put in their policies. They're going to be looking at ways they can trick you into surrendering your power. So if you know what their game is, what their game plan is, you're not fighting with the establishment, because that's a losing battle. It's like banging your head up against the wall. You have to step out of that paradigm and move into a place of being responsible, taking care of yourself, taking back your own authority, and guiding your life, not only for you, but for your children and for your children's children. And the opportunity is there. Some people will rise into that, and some people won't. So empowering people, right? Instead of centralizing power, which is what they want, centralizing money, centralized banks, centralize. We want to decentralize. We want to make ourselves unique. We want to have a unique footprint upon the earth, and turning off technologies that are used to control us. You determined which technologies and what you read and what you see. If you're still having a TV, I recommend getting rid of the TV. I haven't had a TV for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. I don't miss it at all. Occasionally I'll watch a Netflix movie at night or something for entertainment, but then you use your time wisely. Instead of looking at someone else's narrative, i.e. the government globalists that are paid to carry through a certain agenda, then you're dictating, you're creating your own future. You're filling your mind with ideas, right? You're filling your mind with healing solutions instead of having to surrender it, right, to the medical, pharmaceutical, military, industrialized complex. And that's basically it in a nutshell. So what else did I want to say about that? Growing your own food. Or if you're not a farmer, networking with other farmers, people that raise beef, for example, and don't inject their cattle, or they're farming. These are what our solutions are. Our solutions are already in nature. So I'll just check and see if there's any questions or comments. Oh, Susan, you're there. See, I did the video on your recommendation. Thank you for that. Thank you, Richard and Jack. Oh, hi, Jack. Thank you for you and Brian and Paris and Michael. And thank you, Barbara. We need to take back our own power in order to help our next generation. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. So, and now is a time in this conjunction, I'll just clue up by maybe doing a little summary. Astrologically, stellium, Sun, Uranus, and Mercury, which is going to give us help us, what should I say, reinvent our identity and give us the confidence to speak where our words and our actions and our communication are going to be aligned with our conscious identity. We may experience breakthroughs in knowledge and information, and some of those breakthroughs can be creating some anxiety, but know that everything, even the COVID pandemic, has woken people up, right, to their power. Pain's often a great motivator. Pain's a great motivator to kick you out of a stagnation and to give you the fuel to move beyond it into rising into a higher power. And then the other astrological event is Jupiter being conjunct the moon. The moon, again, being our unconscious, and Jupiter being expansive and vision. So it's going to help bring out your unconscious desires into kind of a greater global vision. So move with the flow. Go with the flow. And just to summarize again, is to write down your ideas, to document, to journal, because you are brilliant. Don't surrender your power to a consciousness less than your own. Staying grounded, being outside on the earth. Like I said, for many different reasons, it actually helps bring your vibration to a healing vibration. The Schumann resonance, 7.3 hertz, actually resonates with the same vibration in our DNA. And that resonance or that vibration changes matter. So even if you've injected yourself with nanotechnology and you have nanotechnology in you, even more important for you to shut off your cell phone, because the graphene in your body acts like a little antenna. So for those who've had the injections, or even those who haven't but are around people who've had the injections, or who are have been shedded on, or are having sex with people who've had the injections, these little graphene or the nanotechnologies act as magnets or antenna. So you're more susceptible. So again, returning to core technology, shutting off your phone when you're not using it, spending more time outside in the natural frequencies of the sun to heal your body, to heal your cells, and turning off your screens. And then finally, allowing space for you to have those, what should we call them, spontaneous, inspired ideas. You have to create the space to receive. And if you're, like I said, always engaged in someone else's ideas, you have no space for your own. So in this electrical opening, I wish you inspiration, love, joy, health, and abundance. Ultimately, it comes from you, right? And you're the only one that can change it. Don't get caught up, as I almost did last week, my whole tick story, and how bad things are and what they are doing to us. Look at it as, anything that's being done to you is actually for your greatest love and learning. It's an opportunity, really, right, to grow beyond that challenge, because humans are an unconquerable breed. And, in many texts, sacred texts and ancient history, humans are looked at the bridge between heaven and earth. We're the species, the gatekeepers of this wonderful earth and this intelligence that rests in nature. I watched this video called Singing of the Plants, where they hook plants up to an electromagnetic machine that deciphers the current in the plants and transmits it into a sound. And the plant sounding is just amazing. It's beautiful. And then I read a book called The Secret Life of Plants, where the same thing, they hook plants up to a polygraph and they see how the plant is actually reacting to human intention. So, for example, if the experimenter was going to burn the leaf of the plant would flatline on the polygraph, right? So even if he didn't burn the leaf, the plant knew what the intention was. So that the animals and plants around you, around your space right now, can feel your intention. Make sure you're sending them love, and gratitude for what they're providing to you. And when you do that, and when you ask the great creator, right, for the solutions, it arrives. Whether it's in a plant, in a person, in an idea, ask, believe, and receive. So thank you. Jack says it's about shifting to personal agency, your ability to choose actions, and your willingness to own the result. I love that, Jack. Thank you for saying that. Any other questions or comments? You guys are brilliant. I love it. I love it. Yeah, personal agency. And now with, like I said, the Sun and Mercury together, this means you're going to be speaking and being able to communicate your truth, you know, for the next few months. And Uranus is going to help you be brilliant in doing that. So thank you all for being here. I love you guys so much. Mwah! Thank you. Go out there, reach for the stars, envision and achieve your personal best. And most of all, enjoy the journey. This is Dr. Tina signing out.